Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. We are diving into a massive intellectual rebellion that quite literally reshaped the entire future of artificial intelligence. We usually think of technological progress as this peaceful, straight line going up and to the right. But if you look at history, some of the absolute biggest leaps happened through dramatic, messy corporate fracturing. Today, we're unpacking the genesis of Anthropic, a company that intentionally broke away from OpenAI with one wild goal: to turn AI safety from a fuzzy philosophical debate into a hard mathematical science.
All right, let's just dive right in. Here's our roadmap for the Explainer. We'll start with the historical law of the split. Then we'll break down the AI constitution and see how Anthropic is slicing open the black box of machine cognition. After that, we'll unpack their multi-cloud financial masterstroke, and finally, look at how all of this sets the stage for the era of AI agents.
Kicking things off with Section 1, the law of the split. Let's look at the underlying sociological mechanism that basically built Silicon Valley.
To really understand what went down in AI, we actually have to rewind all the way to 1957. The microchip era wasn't built by some massive monopoly expanding peacefully. It happened because the traitorous eight walked right out of Shockley Semiconductor to start Fairchild. It was an intellectual rebellion. And that exact same DNA repeated itself perfectly in January 2021. A super dense cadre of OpenAI's elite research vanguard, led by Dario and Daniela Amadei, executed a historic exit. They walked out and established Anthropic. But why? What was the breaking point? Well, it really boiled down to a profound ideological friction. As OpenAI scaled up, they secured this massive financial alliance with Microsoft, and they shifted into a commercial core focused on high-velocity market capture and raw token volume. But Dario Amodei, who is a premier computational physicist, he saw a huge danger in that. He realized that if you just blindly scale raw compute power to get emergent cognitive abilities, you also get massive, unpredictable behavioral volatility. So Anthropic was founded to build a safety mode. They demanded absolute structural legibility and mathematical verification of behavior instead of just rushing the next shiny product to market.
Moving right along to Section 2, the AI constitution. This is where we get into the technical failure that Anthropic was actually trying to solve.
See, before Anthropic came along, OpenAI was relying on something called reinforcement learning from human feedback, or RLHF, and it basically used legions of low-wage human click laborers to evaluate AI outputs. The problem? That really just taught the AI how to wear a polite mask. Anthropic looked at that and realized it was just a superficial band-aid. So they invented constitutional AI. The big game changer here is that they completely eliminated the human click labor. They replaced it with an automated manifesto of core principles to mathematically automate machine ethics, literally turning safety into a hard computer science discipline.
Okay, so how does this actually work under the hood? It's a two-step process. Step 1 is the crude critique loop. Instead of a human rating the text, a secondary AI reads the raw response, checks it against roughly 20 core constitutional principles, which are derived from actual human rights treaties, by the way, and it rewrites it. Then we hit Step 2, the RLAThe compiler. The model generates contrasting completions, and a contrastive loss function kicks in. Think of it as a mathematical penalty for wrong answers that physically adjusts the deep internal parameter weights of the neural network to favor the constitutional path. It recursively corrects itself. And the result here is absolutely huge. By automating this feedback through software, constitutional AI locks machine intelligence to human-centric coordinates. The model effectively becomes structurally resistant to malicious hacking, jailbreaking, and those weird algorithmic hallucinations. And honestly, this level of predictable behavior instantly captured the attention and the highly risk-averse capital of the global enterprise market.
Which brings us to Section 3, slicing the black box. Because even with a constitution in place, Anthropic had to confront a truly terrifying computer science challenge: the problem of opacity.
Let's face it, traditional deep learning models, they're total black boxes. We're talking about billions of parameter weights multiplying across millions of dimensions. It's entirely unreadable to a human analyst. To dismantle this, Anthropic's chief scientist Chris Olah pioneered mechanistic interpretability. He essentially treated the AI like a biological tissue sample. By engineering what they call sparse autoencoders, he built a cognitive microscope. It's a secondary neural network that translates those chaotic, multidimensional activation vectors into isolated concepts that we can actually understand.
And it gets incredibly granular. These extracted concepts are called monosemantic features. Anthropic's engineers isolated the exact microscopic conceptual switches inside their Claude engine. I mean, they can literally see the specific digital neuron that flares up into activity only when the AI is thinking about corporate security fraud, or nuclear enrichment, or even psychological gaslighting.
So, put that next to the old way of doing things. In a traditional black box model, you can only run these ephemeral behavioral tests and just cross your fingers that it behaves. But with the OLA interpretability matrix, you get absolute structural code legibility. Anthropic proved they could manually inject an electrical voltage straight into these monosemantic features to dynamically alter the AI's personality. They can surgically control machine cognition. This proves to the Fortune 500 that their AI isn't just some unpredictable magic box. It is a highly transparent computing chassis.
All right, Section 4, the multi-cloud masterstroke. Because doing all of this, building this infrastructure, it takes an unbelievable amount of raw compute power. To train models at this exascale level, Anthropic needed billions, but Dario Amodei absolutely refused to sign an exclusive alliance with just one vendor, because that would trap them in a closed matrix. Instead, he orchestrated a jaw-dropping $4 billion treaty with Amazon AWS, making Anthropic the anchor tenant on Amazon's custom Trainium silicon accelerators.
But he didn't just stop there. Literally at the same time, Google pours another $2 billion into Anthropic, giving them massive access to Google's specialized TPU supercomputer data centers.
So the genius here is this strategy of agnostic multi-cloud autonomy. By perfectly balancing two hyperscale cloud titans against each other, Anthropic captured the capital resources of rival empires while surrendering exactly zero control over its own sovereign destiny. This masterstroke is what propelled them to an $18.4 billion valuation as a public benefit corporation, cementing them as the agnostic safety layer for the entire global tech ecosystem.
Let's wrap it all together. In Section 5, the era of AI agents. This is where we see the payoff of that 2021 schism and how it leads straight into the crazy capabilities we see today.
Just look at how the battle lines are drawn now. To recap the exact weapons the rebels forged, OpenAI scaled as a commercial accelerator, relying on human click laborers, opaque black boxes, and that monolithic Azure alliance. Anthropic, on the flip side, built a constitutional reactor. They automated safety through math, mapped out concepts with mechanistic interpretability, balanced those agnostic multi-cloud treaties, and locked it all inside a public benefit corporation right from the start. That specific structure is what creates total enterprise security lock-in.
Because they've built these strict data-driven guardrails, Anthropic's Phase 7 Claude 3.5 models are just crushing it. They've achieved incredible logical coding synthesis, winning multi-million-dollar deployments with giants like Salesforce and Morgan Stanley. But the real game changer is computer use. The model doesn't just chat anymore. It can dynamically view a screen, move a digital mouse, and type keys to execute complex desktop software tasks natively, exactly like a human worker would. And they're building all of this right out of the hyper-dense neighborhoods of San Francisco, the area now dubbed Cerebral Valley. Which honestly brings us to a massive inflection point. Seriously, think about this. What actually happens when machines transition from passive conversational counselors into active, autonomous operational laborers? When an AI can natively control your desktop interface, the stakes of alignment and safety are no longer just some theoretical thought experiment. They are the absolute foundation of our entire digital infrastructure.
Ultimately, Anthropic has proven that AI safety isn't just philosophy. It's a hard mathematical science. By treating model legibility as a sovereign corporate asset, they've locked machine thought into a highly structured architecture. But as these AI agents start taking actual control of our desktops and our infrastructure, you have to wonder, are these mathematical guardrails truly unbreakable, or have we just built a better illusion of control? Thanks for joining me for this explainer, and keep questioning the architecture behind the algorithms.